Get up, woman of God. Get up, man of God. There's work to be done.
We have to do something. If not, then the fear will paralyze us. What if I told you that some of the same companies that laid off workers because of artificial intelligence are now spending even more money trying to hire them same people back? For the last couple of years, we have been trying to tell you a simple story, that AI seems like it's taking jobs, but that story is incomplete. Today, we are going to dive into an important topic, why your faith is important in these uncertain times. And if you are a college student, a tradesperson, a healthcare worker, an office worker, a small business owner, a manager, an executive, maybe a veteran like myself, or someone simply worried about providing for your family in an uncertain world, this video could completely change how you think about your future. Because the people who win in the next decade won't necessarily be the smartest. They'll be the most adaptable.
Be professional with Dr. Burst and Dr. Ellison. From the janitor to the C-suite, prophetic mission.
Today, I am going to introduce you to my co-host and my best friend, Dr. Burks. She is our HR expert. And again, my name is Dr. Ellison. I am our business and leadership strategist. And we just wanted to be honest with you today about what's been going on. People are concerned about inflation that is going on, the geopolitical tensions, rapid technological change. We just talked about AI, economic uncertainty. We're coming off our summer break and we're school shopping and all of those things are happening. And those are some things that can give us angst. And like I told you, AI enters the picture, and every week we are seeing another headline about automation, layoffs, workforce reductions, and machine learning, which is seemingly replacing human labor. So if you are a worker between the age of 18 and 68 years old, we even have some people that are even older that are re-entering the workforce. Many of you are asking, will my job exist 5 years from now? Is college still worth it? We just talked about that in our last video. Should I switch careers? What happens if AI can do what I can do? Those are some legitimate questions that you guys are asking. And as a veteran and someone that studies leadership, organizations, and workforce trends, I believe fear is understandable. But panic and being anxious is not productive. There is enough data out there that suggests that there is a more nuanced story. And we are going to kind of wrap this topic around an article that I recently read that I found absolutely fascinating. And that is this article right here, you guys. The great AI layoff is turning into the great AI rehire. And you read that absolutely correctly. And this article highlights a growing trend, and that is that companies are aggressively replacing those workers that they once laid off. What did they find out, you guys? That technology alone cannot replace you. And Dr. Burks and I have been screaming that at the top of our lungs. Guess what they need? They need human judgment, emotional intelligence, creativity, relationship building, and leadership. What do you think about that, Dr. Burks?
In short, you can never outsource the human touch. You can't. We are always going to be essential. So you can navigate and make AI just as seamless as you want, but you still need a human operator in some capacity. And I don't think it was our last video, Dr. Ellison, but in a previous recent video, I said, I really wish people would stop saying that humans sound like AI and that instead AI sounds like human. That's
Mm.
it. I'm ready.
Yeah, and it's just so interesting. And we talked about how much investment was made into all of these different types of technologies and how much uncertainty it created. And just only to find out that they're having to spend even more money going back out and trying to rehire those people and bring those workers right back on. And it's just so funny to think about how that happens, how much, human intellect is needed in the workplace. And I just find that so fascinating to even think about that. But if you think that AI is coming for your job or any other technological advancement, I would tell you to ask this question, because the question isn't whether or not someone else or can AI do my job. The question is, which parts of my job are uniquely human? What do you think about that question, Dr. Burks?
I like it. It makes sense. It's so funny, and I don't want to go off to the left, but The whole purpose, in my opinion, of AI is to make our job or whatever effort easier, never to replace it holistically. And so if you feel that your human presence has been replaced by AI, then it's not being managed correctly. AI can't replace you, so then maybe it's time to pivot. Which is Dr. Ellison's favorite, one of her favorite and famous terms. But I'm interested in covering the topic, Dr. Ellison. I'm ready to see what you got prepared for us to dive into.
Yes. So, as we are talking about being faithful in uncertain times, faith is definitely something that a lot of us don't understand. And I will actually put the definition of how faith is defined just in, verbal and dictionary terms. But faith is one of those things that we can't explain. It's something that we can't see, it's something that we can't feel. But there are some things that we can do. And I was actually reading just, some things on the Department of Labor's website recently. And there are some projections, just some things that you can probably put your hands on, and there are some significant growths that are happening. I think Dr. Burks, you may have mentioned it, or one of us did, that there are some growths that are happening in the healthcare field, the STEM fields, the technological fields, data, some human-centered services. But interestingly enough, the not only the Department of Labor, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics identified some capabilities that these organizations are looking for. And I believe we have talked about these to ad nauseum, and that is adaptability, leadership, interpersonal communication, critical thinking, and problem solving skills. And as we are talking about faith, those are some skills that have just been put in us. And faith is something that is usually attributed to a spiritual or religious belief system. And whether you believe or not, I think that it is important to have some sort of faith, because guess what? At the end of the day, we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. We don't know if we're even going to wake up tomorrow or not. And so we put faith in so many things. We put faith in the fact that our cell phone is going to work when we pick it up, or, that we're going to make it, to the grocery store. We put faith in just ordinary everyday things, but it is so important for us to think about having faith in these uncertain times. And those skills are innate human abilities that are God-given abilities that he gave us if we would seek him out. Those are deeply human competencies. And if you notice, what is at the top of the list? Adaptability. Dr. Burks.
I also like to look at faith as confidence. You are confident that whatever it is that you set out to do, whatever it is that you need to do, you are 100%, or at least to some degree, partially confident that whatever that venture, thing, or thought is, you believe it'll happen. Another thing with faith and adaptability and confidence, I would also challenge you to look at the perspective. How can I put it, Dr. Ellison? In short, we have hope. And I think when you add all of those, it's like a salad. When you have all of those together, that salad is amazing, first of all. But we have the hope that things will get better, that this is not the ending, like this is not the end all be all. And so in faith, God also gives us hope that wherever we currently are is not the end, and where we would like to be is still a possibility. So in that, Dr. Ellison, those characteristics that you just mentioned, I think all of that is encompassed in faith. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I definitely agree with that. And for those of you who do share our faith perspective, Dr. Burke's faith perspective, this is an important reminder that your value is not determined by an algorithm. Your worth is not determined by some sort of labor market report. Your identity, like we talked to you about before, is not determined by a job title. Like we told you, things change, technology changes, market changes, the government changes, the economy is going to change. But your God given capacity to learn and to serve and to create and to encourage and to lead and to solve problems and to help others is going to always remain extraordinarily valuable. And that doesn't mean that we ignore gas prices and food prices and meat prices. That doesn't mean that we ignore the reality that there is parasites in our fruits and vegetables. It means that we face reality with wisdom rather than with fear, because faith is not pretending that we walk in this world like challenges don't exist. Faith doesn't, it means that we move forward despite the fact that there is uncertainty. There are going to be some things that we don't know about in this world. And we really just wanted to encourage you in the fact that times are going to be uncertain. And when we go and we read in the scripture and we read about Abraham and we read about Paul and we read about Daniel and we read about people that got selected and they got put in prison, or their family did something to them, or there was a famine in the land, they had to have faith that what God promised he was going to deliver on. And that just takes courage, and it takes belief in knowing that we just may be in a challenging and a difficult season, but knowing that you were created to do those things, to serve and to be value added, and that, there is a different season for everything. There's a time to plant and there's a time to harvest. There's a time when it's raining and there's a time when the sun comes up. And we are just in a challenging season right now. Dr. Burks?
I like that. And then if I can also add, I'm sure we're all familiar with the saying that something has served its purpose. Well, if you have the ability to watch this video right now, then that means you still have purpose. So take advantage of your accessibility to our creator, and knowing that, regardless of what the world says, it's written a lot, where God and Christ are very much so well aware of the challenges we face. So none of this is a surprise to him. So take it to him. And then with that confidence and that courage, you have to incorporate trust, because none of these things are anything that we can control. And going back to the parasites in the food, Dr. Ellison, just to go sidebar, this is why I make sure I bless my food, because who knows what we are ingesting on a day-to-day basis. But it is just that faith, that peace, and that confidence that once I bless this food, whatever that is in it that would typically have made me sick is null and void, because my Savior has covered it. So um, if we could bring up the first article. So this article is from July 20th of this year, so not very long ago. And it's talking about, so we have spoken a lot about the shortages in terms of jobs and how job seekers are facing challenges. We specifically talked about ghost jobs. But the other side that I was hoping, I can bring forth to you today is that there's also a worker shortage, which I know it doesn't make sense, because it's like, well, if we have people that want jobs, then how is it a shortage of labor? But the reason why there is a labor shortage, in short, is because as times have changed, and this author did an amazing job articulating it. She said that the labor market is pushing more towards younger generations for these jobs, and will continue to do so over the next few years. And so with that, even though we are not supposed to discriminate against age, ageism is a very unfortunate thing, but because of the trend in the market, they have their eyes on a certain demographic of workers. And so because of that, they are shortlisting employees or candidates who are younger, because they are looking for longevity. So to give you a different perspective, in my experience personally and things that I've witnessed, there are a lot of people who are not as willing to hire individuals who are close to retirement age. Why? Even though this should not be happening, it is because of an investment. They look at us as investments. And so with that, if I know that this position is going to continue to change and grow and expand, et cetera, I don't want to put someone in here. And this isn't me, but the mindset of some of these corporations, they don't want to put someone in there that won't be able to be in the position long term. So let's just change our focus on maybe a millennial or a Gen Zer, because there's a greater chance that they can be in this position longer. What do you think, Dr. Ellison?
I think that this article is actually quite nuanced as well, because it's not also that demographic and that population of Gen Alpha and Gen Z is a shortage of people either. I think it's also a labor crisis when it comes to having the skill set necessary to do the work that is required. And so when I think about what you said about that age, that they would want to have to do that type of work, I am thinking of what that means for the older generations, the millennials, the Gen X, and the boomers that are still in the labor force. I'm thinking that, guess what? They still need mentors. They still need teachers. They still need those people to teach those apprenticeships. So, you can want young people in the workforce all you want to. They do not develop those skills and that mindset without the elders teaching them what right looks like. And that's what I think about this article, because, they could be replacing one crisis, thinking they're fixing it, putting a band-aid on an arterial bleed. You're swapping one crisis for another one if you do not have a robust, diverse workforce. And when I say diverse, that means in age, that means in experience and background. So, you need all of that to make sure that you have a healthy workforce, Dr. Burks.
It is all about how you choose to prepare.
Hmm.
It is all about how you choose to prepare, because there is a huge difference between expecting something to happen and being prepared for something to happen. And we are working with the inevitable. These generations before, I'm a millennial, so the aforementioned generations are, they're not working. They're not looking to, I mean, retirement, we can get into all of that, how the retirement age has changed. But in short, we are in a position where these individuals still need to work. And so, like Dr. Ellison mentioned, because there's a, what do they say, you can't teach a old dog new tricks, but
Mm.
you actually can. And then that also insinuates with that mindset that, again, if I just told you, if you are watching this video, then that means there's still purpose. So then that means there's also something that can be learned. And it also insinuates that only the millennials, like Dr. Ellison said, the Gen Zers, the Gen Alphas, have quality. They have something to bring to the table, but that is such a disservice to the generations before them, because that's not true. There's obviously a reason that you see a lot of people who are in those generations in positions of leadership. Even if their practices may be dated, there's still something that they possess that those who have not been in the workforce as long do not, unfortunately. But the goal is we should all be learning from each other something. And so I believe 100% whatever you choose to eat is what you get in the spirit. Um, Whatever we eat, if that's negativity, if that's self doubt, if it's like all of these negative thoughts that you tell yourself, that is what will manifest. So if you feel that you are too old to pursue a position, then yeah, opportunities may look a little differently. If an organization feels, well, this is the market that we want, that this is like our ideal model, then you will be in a labor shortage a lot longer than most. And that's because you are not operating in faith and in preparing yourself for those uncertain things, because again, you can't just expect it, you got to prepare for it. Dr. Ellison.
Yes, and that's so interesting that you say that because, while age may be a chronological number, it's also a mindset.
Mhm.
So you always keep yourself prepared. And if you are in the workforce, I can show you better than I can tell you. And you just have to show them what they are going to be missing out on. And that is another reason why we always express to you why community is so important because, I was just recently teaching a professional development course and I was talking about Shirley Chisholm and she said if they don't give you a chair you bring you a folding chair, you bring you a brick and you build, and sometimes you just may have to build your own thing. You may have to have another community, and if they don't want you to work there, you go and build what you know is needed. And sometimes that is exactly how that has to happen. And I would also say that, maybe another question that we could be asking is, am I developing the character, the skills, the mindset needed for whatever the future is going to bring? Because faith should be teaching us about stewardship. And that means focusing on what we can control and then trusting God with what we cannot control. So you know that we cannot control the labor market. You know that we cannot control what corporate decisions are being made and who they want to be the face of their organizations. You know that we cannot control these global events. You see that there are wars, rumors of wars. There are famines and earthquakes and natural disasters and things that are happening out there. The Bible told us that these things were going to happen. But guess what we can control? Our attitude, our integrity, our work ethic, what we learn, our preparation, like Dr. Burks talked about, our service to others. And those are the things that are valuable in what? In every economy. And when companies really sit down and discover what they need, they find out that guess what they need? They need people. They're looking for people who bring more than just technical skills or a certain chronological age. They're looking for people that have good judgment and character and trustworthiness and adaptability because we are living in a time. I have people saying to me all the time, Dr. E, can I trust this? Is this AI? Is this a scam? We don't know what is real and what is fake anymore. And people are genuinely looking for people-centered organizations, believe it or not. And these are the very qualities that faith has been developing in people for centuries. Dr. Burks.
It's okay to do something different. Yours doesn't have to look like theirs. And just because theirs looks like this does not mean theirs is right. So I honestly feel we are having a lion's den experience. And if you have ever read the book of Daniel, the whole book is about standing your ground in God, knowing confidently and by faith, He will take care of you. So the scripture that I would like to read comes from the book of Daniel, chapter 10, and this is verse 12 in the English Standard Version. And it says, "Then he said to me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the day first that you set your heart to understand and humbled yourself before God, before your God, your words have been heard, and I have come because of your words. That is so important, professionals, because Daniel walked in adversity his entire life. And he had to step out in faith and go against the grain. Like, professionals, I could sit here and Dr. Ellison can sit here and tell you the significance of the book of Daniel. You got to read it yourself. But he had to do something different. And they laughed at him and they scoffed at him and his friends. And then in turn, he became more valuable than any other person in that kingdom. And so Daniel had to do a lot of self-sacrificing. We have to sacrifice. We're going to have to sacrifice what makes us comfortable. We're going to have to sacrifice focusing on the opinions of others. And you're going to have to just lean on your faith, because Daniel faced a lot of uncertainty himself. This is biblical and this was eons ago, but he trusted God. And then he also had an amazing balance of humility along with confidence. Remember, I said confidence. And then in that, trusting of God, he was able to survive his lion's den experience. As long as you are on this earth, you're never going to get out of the lion's den. You may be near the mouth of a lion at some point, you may be in the entryway, but the point is your foundation has to be your faith, because the world is going to tell you at all times that there's no hope and that the only way to get through something is by your own works. And that's not the truth. Dr. Ellison, I know you love the book of Daniel, but what do you think about how that scripture is significant with our conversation?
I just really love that you brought out the book of Daniel because was actually one of them young people that you were just talking about. He was a young person that had to be in the midst of a lot of uncertainty and adversity, and he had to demonstrate courage and pretty much standing up to the major leader where he was at. And so I really just like what Daniel represents for today's times, and just walking in humility and understanding that God doesn't lie. And we just have to, sometimes you just have to weather the storm and be confident, like you said, Dr. Burks, in knowing that if we prepare ourselves for that time, then when that time comes, that we'll be ready. Because you don't know if you're at the mouth. You may feel like you're doing good and everything all is well, and just be at the brink of the mouth of a lion and not even be aware of it. And so I really do like that you talked about Daniel. How awesome is that?
Okay.
And I do have a few takeaways, but before I get to those takeaways, because I like to give our professionals something that they can use. I know you had another article. Did you want to get to that, or do you want to go straight to our takeaways?
We can get to the article real fast. It really it's by an elder, and his name is Richard Scott. It's called "The Sustaining Power of Faith in Times of Uncertainty and Testing," and that is where we are, professionals. And so I won't go through this article verbatim, because I think Dr. Ellison and I have covered this pretty well. But I would encourage you to read it, because it really emphasizes utilizing God's guidance, playing on that confidence, the faith, and then realizing that we have fear, but we can't operate in fear. We can't allow uncertainty to cripple us, because that's not sustainable. So we could sit and cry and coddle ourselves and rock in the corner and turn on the morning music and all of that, but then that doesn't change anything. So, professionals, I think that the best part of this article is he is saying, get up. Get up, woman of God. Get up, man of God. There's work to be done. But if you are operating and showing God that I trust you with that business, or with that new job, or with this layoff, I talked about a close professional of mine who is facing massive layoffs until 2029 in her job. Um, just have faith, and we're never going to escape uncertainty. You have no clue what will completely happen tomorrow. You may have plans on what you would like to do, but you don't know all of the obstacles or blessings you may receive or face. So I just want you to, if you have time, to just take advantage of reviewing that article if possible. That's it, Dr. Ellison. I'm ready for the takeaways.
I absolutely love that article. It actually embodies what courage is. Because when we think about someone that's courageous, or we think about like superhero movies, courage is not the absence of fear. It's actually doing what needs to be done in the face of fear. That article really just sums up what courage is. And it's exactly what we recognize that these are some uncertain and some trying times. We see what they are doing with Medicaid and Medicare and some of the funds that we're used to getting and all of the things that we mentioned throughout this video. But it is going to require us to take courage and not with the things that we can't control. Because guess what? Some of the things that I just said, those are some things that we cannot control. But what are some of the things that we can take action on that we can control? And I have a few takeaways that you can actually use today. And that is to replace fear with preparation. So spend 30 minutes today. If not today, make it a priority tomorrow to spend 30 minutes learning a skill that increases your value, because faith is not passive, like we just said. It is going to move us toward wise action. And that's the thing about Daniel. As Dr. Burks talked about Daniel, he was considered one of God's wise sons. And the next thing is to focus on what you can control. And I literally just said that. Stop obsessing over layoffs, politics, the market, and its predictions, but focus rather on developing your skills, your relationships, your health, your integrity. And remember what Dr. Burks and I told you. There are people who make money from people that follow them, subscribe to them, pay memberships. They make money off of you obsessing over these things. Their whole platforms are driven off of the emotions that you have, because we are constantly obsessing over these things. Let us stop obsessing over these things. Can we control it? If we can, let's figure out what to do. If not, let us stop obsessing. It's okay to have a concern. It is okay for us to have a fear about it, but what can we actually focus on that we can do? And then lastly, let us become irreplaceably human. As I said to you, there are some things and some qualities that these organizations are looking for that no technology could they can't even program it to do. Dr. Burks?
There will never be, I don't care what type of technology, a Dr. Burks. There will never be a Dr. Ellison. I can stand on that because I have faith that what we possess is ours to give. We come to this platform and we share this information with you, and we also have to believe it ourselves. We also have to apply it ourselves. And so I just want to make sure, professionals, that you never get the impression that we are coming here without struggle or without adversity ourselves. It may look different, but we face it. And so I want you to take comfort in knowing that we are speaking from places of experience and relatability. A big takeaway that I have since, my foundational scripture for today was the book of Daniel, is that what you're going through is your captivity, but it's your place of preparation. What you are going through right now, if you actually go through it and lean on God and take heed to even the things that we're saying right now, this is preparing you for something. You just make sure you don't miss your opportunity. And if I could, leave with this thing, aside from being encouraged, reframe your mindset and focus on the best that can happen instead of the worst that can happen. That's it.
Well, we wanted to thank you for trusting us. And please know that we do encourage you. And we really do pray for you. There's not a day that goes by where we don't pray for you. And just know that we see everything that is happening out there. We just kind of took a sidestep from some of the topics that we normally talk about. And we wanted to talk to you about your faith today, because your faith and all of the things that are going on, it really does matter. And with that being said, as we do encourage you, you take what we told you today and you go and encourage somebody else. And with everything, whether it's in your work life or your personal life, make sure that you always be professional.